Hello there. Today I have a guitar amp review for you. Today we're speaking about the Fender Mustang LT25 modeling guitar amp. And here she is. As I just said, this amp is a modeling amp. It has a total of 30 built-in presets and then 30 empty user-definable presets. It has a total of 20 modeled amps and 25 effects pedals. The power of this amp is 25 watts, and it has an 8-inch speaker in it. Each of the presets of this amp has a total maximum possibility of 2 input pedals, 1 virtual amp, and 2 output pedals. The size of this amp is 12 3/4 inches by 14.5 inches by 8 1/4 inches, and it weighs 12 3/4 pounds. So here we have the foot switch input. We have the guitar input here, headphones here, an aux input here to use an MP3 player. We have the gain, volume, treble, and bass knobs to control the levels of our virtual amp. We have a master knob here, a transparent volume change level. We have our rotary switch here. Turning it allows you to change between the presets, and pushing the knob allows you to select different parameters and change their value, also using the rotary knob and pushing. And then we have buttons here that allow us to tap a tempo for delay effects. We have a menu button here, a save button here, and a back button to navigate the menus with. The USB input, and a power switch. Here I just wanted to note that I've already made 2 other videos on this amp. One which was an unboxing video, and the second one is a first impressions video where I just play through all 30 presets that come stock on this amp. So I'm going to link to those videos in the description of this video if you're looking for that content. So what is my opinion of this amp? First of all, I think that the 8-inch speaker on this amp sounds pretty good for an 8-inch speaker. I was surprised that it sounds pretty full, and actually tends perhaps to the muddy side, if anything. Although I think it sounds pretty good in general. It's a pretty pleasant sound for jamming in a room. And it doesn't have any of the annoying harshness that a 8-inch speaker might have had a decade ago, or that the modeling amps might have had a decade ago. I will also note that it does have a certain Fender sound, if you know what the sound Fender is known for. This amp has quite a large variety of different amp models, of some historic Fender amps and also some virtual amps that were made specifically for this software release. I would just note that if you're a metal fan, I think that the metal amps are the least convincing of the amps, but they're still passable. They're still reasonable. So I think that this amp sounds very good for most styles of music, and I think the metal sounds would be my biggest gripe, if I had any. But once again, the metal sounds are not horrible. I just think that in terms of amps of an equivalent price, you could do better, and of course other brands are more specialized in metal sounds. Also, like I said, the speaker tends toward being a little bit warm or perhaps a little bit muddy, depending on whether you see that as a positive or a negative thing. I think I like that sound, especially for jamming in a room. I think it's very nice. I never found the amp harsh, and it sounds full and pleasant to me. On the other hand, when I started using it for recording, I found that sometimes it was a bit muddy. So that could be a downside if you want to use it a lot for recording. Of course, you can use the built-in EQ, which is responsive to correct that. Or, of course, you can use the EQ within a DAW if you're mixing. But I find that the sounds are more, the native sounds are more geared towards jamming in a room where you're looking for a sort of more full ambient sort of sound. And speaking of which, there's also the reverb, which I find is a little bit high on most of the presets, which again can be nice when you're jamming in a room. But once again, for recording, you would want to turn down that reverb. And that's one of my gripes. I think they should have put as a knob, when I go through the presets, one of the first things that I want to do on almost every preset is to turn down the level of the time effects, whether that be reverb. Sometimes there are delays. Sometimes there are other time effects. And most of the native presets have time effects levels that are a little too high for me. I would have liked a knob on here where I can just change the value, the mix level of those time effects easily. It's a little bit more of a pain to go into the menus. It takes only a few seconds once you're used to it, but it's still nicer to be able to just change that with the turn of a knob, and it's something that I wish they had done. In terms of the form factor, it's nice and lightweight, very easy to carry around, quite light, quite easy to handle, and yet still the perfect power. 25 watts is more than enough for playing around the house. I think you'd have no problem jamming with another guitarist, with a bassist, with a singer. On the other hand, it's definitely not enough for jamming with a drummer. So it's good for bedroom use. It's good for jamming with friends, except for drummers. So in terms of value, I bought this amp for 169 euros on Thomann. I bought it for my son, who just started out on electric guitar. I think it's a great amp for him and that purpose, especially since it has lots of very varied sounds, most of which I think are really pretty good quality for this price point. And once again, I'll finish by saying I think that the sounds are tailored more for jamming and playing in a room, and not quite as much oriented towards recording, which I think is quite normal given the price and what most beginning guitarists are going to do with it. You also, of course, have a headphone jack if you want to use it silently. And the headphone jack can also be used for recording if you have the equipment to do so, in addition to the USB output, which can be also used for recording. So there you have it. That is my review of the Fender Mustang MT25. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you're interested in seeing more content like this in the future, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching and have a great day.